No, it's not. Right now it's seeing 0, 2, 3, 4. That's right. Okay, Elise, could you please introduce to everybody what we're going to be talking about today?
Completing the square.
Completing the square, that's right. So, let's say you had a square, Elise. What's special about all squares?
They have 4 sides.
And all the sides are?
Equal.
That's right. So, could you guys please find the area of this square if I told you that the sides were x plus 3, a number plus 3? Ryan?
X plus 3 squared.
Oh, no. What you going to do? I'm sorry.
X squared plus 6.
No.
2x plus 6.
No.
Okay. Multiply. Okay.
How about this? Could you guys please just multiply those together?
You do foils.
Yeah, you can do that. Go ahead and figure that out. Multiply it together. All right, now if we did the FOIL method, all right, obviously you could take this number and distribute it to both of them. So you probably have x times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x. Then you would move over and do the 3 times both numbers. And you would get, bless you, 3x. 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 3 is 9. But, Elise,
Yes.
I wanted you guys to do something a little bit differently without having to do all of this work called the FOIL method. I wanted us to simply look at this 3 and this 3 and go, 3 plus 3 gives us the, very good, and 3 times 3 gives us. So the next one I'm going to give you, can you please do the shortcut by adding these numbers together to get the middle term?
Yes.
Called the b value, and then multiplying them together to get the c value. And notice, even though we can't see it, what's our a value technically equal?
1.
Yeah. So right here, I'm going to label that, that's my a value. So I'm going to give you guys a new problem and see if you guys can do the shortcut without having to do this long thing called the FOIL. Oh, 3 plus 3.
No, I mean down there you said something about add.
Oh, okay. You take the 3, you add it
yeah,
to
I know how to
3.
do foil. I know how to do that.
Okay. Here we go.
I'll make sure we're talking the same thing.
Sounds good. So here we go. Here's a new square. I'm going to call this square x minus 6 and x minus 6. All right? So I want to know what the area of this square is. Ryan, what did you get for the product of x minus 6 times x minus 6?
The answer is x squared minus 12x plus 36.
I like it. Now, how did you get this middle term known as b?
I added -6 and -6, and then I timed both of those together to get the product 6.
Very good. Now, understand, this expression is an expression that has already been a square that's been completed. Which means this. If I have x minus 6 times x minus 6, that is x minus 6 that's been squared. This is a square that has already been completed. Now, if you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, I'll try to do the best to tell you guys. If I have x plus 4, what would the other side have to be? It would have to be x plus 4. Now, there is a pattern to these types of problems that I need you guys to understand, okay? Obviously, you guys would probably say the final answer to this would be what? Jordan, what would be the final answer if I multiplied those together? What would be the area of this square?
I got it.
You got it, Ryan? Go ahead, Ryan.
Plus 8x
Yes?
plus 16.
Good. Very good. Now, Ryan, what we're going to do now is what if I told you I wanted you to complete the square, what number would you put in there? Right, you put a 16. Now, there's a pattern to this that I need you guys to understand. This number, if you ever wanted to complete a square, all right, which means you wanted to find the c value that goes with the expression. The c value is always the b value divided by 2 squared. Every single time. If and only if your a value is a 1, your b value, whatever your b value is, in this particular case it's an 8, your c value will be half of your b value, and then you square it. So notice what I did here. Correct. Only if a is 1. Okay? So right here, you see that 8? That's our b value, correct? So we took half of it. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is a 16. So now we're going to do some examples and see if you guys can finish completing the square on your own in your journal. Okay? All right. In your journal, what I'd like you to do as examples of how to complete the square, I need you guys to do some patterns here. All right? So you know how to do this on your own. Right now, just remember, every single time, this c value is always going to be the b value divided by 2 squared. Every single time. So what's the b value for this problem right here? What's the b value? 2. What's the b value here? And the b value here? -7. So right now, I'd like you to take half of 2. That's 1 squared. And that would be your answer. So this number, what we did is we took 2, we divided it by 2, and we squared it. Which basically was just 1 squared. What are we going to do on this one? What are we going to take half of? -6. We're going to take half of it, and then we're going to square it. What is half of -6?
-3, but then it's squared, so it becomes
Positive 9. There we go. This becomes -3 squared, which gets us a positive 9. Now this one gets a little tricky because these are easy to take halves of because these are what? These are even integers.
I got it.
Think you got it right? Hold on. Tell me what to do first.
You divide -7 by 2, which gives you -3.5. But then you times the -3.5, -3.5, and you get 12.
12.25.
How about this? What's 7 times 7?
40.
So put a 49 there. 2 times 2 is?
4.
49 over 4 is the same decimal you probably told me.
Do I have to, does it matter which form you put in?
It does to a certain extent. Trust me, you're going to want to understand and leave it in this form because in this form you can do things without a calculator. In that form you have to use the calculator because you can't do it in your head.
How do you put that in the calculator? I can make the calculator do that.
Oh, hit the math button, press enter twice. Alright? Now, right now, what do we do every single time with the b value?
We took 2 and times on the square.
That's right. We took half of it and then we squared it. So now I'm going to give you guys a more challenging problem and see if you guys can get this one done. Here we go. X squared plus 7 over 2x plus figure out what's the c value going to be, knowing that you have to take half of your b value and square it. Try to get that one done. All right, in order to get the c value here, what we want to do is we need to understand this right here is that's our b value. All right? So dividing something by 2 is the same thing as multiplying it by what fraction? 1/2. So what I'd like you to do a little differently, all right, is I'd like you, instead of taking 7 over 2 and dividing it by a 2, what I'd like you to do is take 7 over 2 and multiply it by a 1/2 and then take that and square it. So what is 7 over 2 times 1 over 2, Myra? 7 over 2 times...
Oh, that would be 7 over 4.
Thank you for answering my question and not jumping to the next part, which what do we have to do after we get 7 over 4? We have to
Take the square root.
not take the square root of it. We have to square it. So what's 7 times 7?
49 over 16.
And 4 times 4 is 16. So if I say, what's half of 7 over 2? It is 7 over 4. What's 7 over 4 squared? 49 over 16. So this right here, everything has been completed. Now the next part, after you learn how to complete the square, the next part is you have to learn how to factor. So everybody in your journal right now, I need you to write this down. How do you factor? But factoring a completed square. How do you factor a completed square? Now, our completed square is ax squared plus bx plus, now I'm going to put this, understand this, guys, it's going to be b squared over a 4. It ends up being every single time. Because remember, what is our c value always going to be? It's going to be our b value divided by 2 squared. And what's our a value always when we're completing a square? Our a value is going to be a 1. So our answer every single time is going to be x squared plus bx plus b squared over 4. That's how it's going to work out. You had a formula, an expression to represent it. Now what is this always going to factor to? It's always going to factor to x plus b over 2 times x plus b over 2, which becomes x plus b over 2 squared. So what I want you guys to do in your journal is write factoring a completed square. This is your expression. Your a value is going to always equal 1. Your b value will change. Your c value will change with your b value. Okay? But this could be a formula you could use every single time. So we have x squared. What was our last one that we just did? We completed the square, the more difficult one. 7 over 2x plus 49 over 16. So what we're going to do is we are going to factor this one right now. How do we take this expression and factor it? Remember, this is our b value, right? And we say it's going to be x plus our what? Our b value divided by a 2. And our b value divided by a 2. So what is our b value right here divided by a 2? We simply multiplied it by a what? A half, which got us what? 7 over 4. So what is half of that number? Half of that number is 7 over 4 and 7 over 4, which becomes x plus 7 over 4 squared. Okay? What we're going to do now is I'm going to write something that where the square has already been completed, and I want you to practice doing what? Practice factoring. That's something you're going to have to do. This would be the final answer, factor. Okay? All right, right now, this expression, the square, has already been completed. My b value is a 16. My c value is 64. And this is a perfect square, everybody. This is an example of a trinomial that is known as a perfect square. A lot of students get here, but they don't know how to move on from this. And what I'm trying to show you guys a pattern is, how do you go from x squared plus 16x plus 64 to its factors? You always take the b value and divide it by 2, or take half of it. Well, what is half of our b value?
8.
So that just becomes x plus 8, x plus 8, which becomes x plus 8 squared.
So you wouldn't.
All right, so how do we check our answer if we to know we got it right? You take this number, and what are we going to do with the 8s? We're going to add them together to check if our middle number works. 8 plus 8 is 16. And we're going to take these 8s and multiply them together to equal a 64. Now, the next video we're actually going to resolve number 1 together. So please put number 1 in your journal.